what to say.
Now, this morning we've been reporting that the Saddam Hussein and his inner circle have been meeting. We haven't had a formal notification as to what came out of that in terms of a formal reply to the American demands for Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait. But the Iraqi press agency a short while ago did run a story, which was alluded to, that Tom Aspel was mentioning, that the Iraqis are thinking of setting up a free democratic country, a government in Kuwait. Now, some people would say, what kind of nonsense is this at this state of the war? How do you figure this? PECK.
Oh, thank you. It's that's a little bizarre. That's falls in the category of being off the wall. Listen, it's a little late to be doing that, and they're probably the world's least adept at setting up a democratic government somewhere anyway. Given the fact that they're about to be, overrun by massive military forces, this sounds like just a blast of hot air.
Tom Brokaw in Saudi Arabia. You have a question?
I do, for either Gary Sick or for Ed Peck. Look, Tariq Aziz held a news conference before he left Moscow. He spelled out very clearly what the Iraqis would accept. It was the Soviet peace plan. Before he got on the airplane, Gorbachev sent one last message to him saying, think very clearly about what you're doing here. You could crush the whole of the Persian Gulf. There didn't seem to be anything in the choreography of his departure that indicated that he was telling the Soviets on the other side, yeah, we'll take some of what the Americans have to offer as well. So it doesn't seem to me to have a lot of credibility right now based on what we know.
Well, following up on that, Tom's point to Gary Sick, do you see that what might be happening here in the Kremlin is still, as we've indicated, a last effort by Gorbachev to carve out some place for himself and the Soviet Union in a peace settlement?
I think we should be extremely cautious about this report. We don't know where it came from. We don't know when it originated. If, in fact, Tariq Aziz responded to Gorbachev's last warning and in fact, has sent a new message through Moscow, which was delivered, then we have a new situation. If we're dealing with old information, then nothing really has happened.
But this would be a sign, Ed Peck, would it not, that Gorbachev is very much interested in having some kind of a position in the Arab world. Look at what's happened right now. We're on the verge of a war, a ground war. The Soviet Union has no troops there. It has not really played any significant role in that. It has tried to come up with a diplomatic solution. It's been told by George Bush, thank you very much, thanks for the effort, but we're going our own way. We have our own demands. The future is pretty bleak for Gorbachev in the Middle East, isn't it, Ed Peck?
Well, at the moment, yeah, but his nation has involved itself, and although they weren't major players...
The weather...
A little cheddar makes plain veggies taste better. But take the cheddar cheese away, and you can just say...
No way!
'Cause cheddar...
For a way out, and that's why you get these tantalizing hits. He's trying to give up. And if Bush has pushed him too hard, he may not give up, and then a lot of lives may be expended.
And the other side of the equation is, does President Bush want him to give up under these circumstances, or as John Cochran indicated earlier, in the last week or so, has the president now moved into a new phase? He wants to humiliate him.
I think if the world sees that the president has tried to humiliate Saddam Hussein and the war goes badly, and there are a lot of lives lost in that desert, it will be very bad for Mr. Bush. If the war goes swiftly, and I can't believe that we won't take a lot of casualties, but if it goes swiftly and it's over and it's a great victory, people will forget that George Bush may have given the appearance of only trying to humiliate this bad man in Baghdad.
John, can you imagine that the United States, however the war turns out, let's say best case scenario, it's over in a matter of days if there is a war, or maybe this is true at the United Nations today. Can you see the possibility of the United States being able to stand down in the Persian Gulf, in the Middle East, in the next year or 2 years? Don't you think we'll have an enormous presence here for a long time?
I think what we're going to have, Tom, is a great competition with the Russians, because they're having their cake and eating it. They're telling us what great pals they are of the United States, and at the same time, they've been helping Saddam Hussein get out of the jam he's in. They're going to look very good in the Persian Gulf, in places like Iran and in whatever is left of Iraq. And they are going to be players looking for influence in this part of the world. So that when they put their hands over their heart and talk about their eternal friendship or their new friendship with the United States, you have to put your hand on your wallet.
And John, finally, what about the Middle East and the role of Israel after all of this and its relationship to the United States?
Well, I think
Sally is not the only Piston with a talk show. The coach also has a program called Chuck Daly's One-on-One.
Have to be examined is there a strategic relationship?
Thank you very much. John Chancellor, who's here watching what is going on and commenting as well for NBC News. And we'll be back with continuing coverage of America at war and the small hint of new peace developments right after these words from your local station.
I'm Bryant Gumbel. Monday morning on Today, we'll update you on all the events in the Gulf and talk, too, with Mark Harmon about his role in a new NBC TV movie. That's Monday morning on Today.
No job, no money, no girl, no apartment, no respect, no future. That's what I got when I dropped out of school. So I went back, got an education. Things have been going fine ever since. The more...
From Walt Disney Pictures, he left home a boy. But in the face of disaster, he showed the courage of a man.
Let's go!
Triumphed over the impossible.
After them!
And he became a hero.
Fire! We did it! Start this ship for Calcutta! Aye, aye, Captain!
Shipwrecked, rated PG.
Starts Friday at a theater near you.
Watch our teamwork. Channel 4 News.
We're back in Saudi Arabia, keeping track of some fast-moving developments in several parts of the world. Here in Saudi Arabia, an enormous allied military machine remains poised on the northern Saudi border, hard on the border with Kuwait and with Iraq, prepared to go on the president's orders. He is in Camp David with Secretary of State James Baker. In Moscow, Soviet President Gorbachev has been working the telephones trying to promote the Soviet peace plan. Tariq Aziz, the Iraqi foreign minister, is en route back from Moscow to Baghdad. In Baghdad, Saddam Hussein has been meeting with his Revolutionary Command Council, and at the United Nations in New York, the Soviet ambassador, Vorontsov, has said that Tariq Aziz has indicated that Iraq now is prepared to accept some of President Bush's conditions. Some. And this has not been a report that has been independently confirmed by the Soviet ambassador. Let's go now to NBC's Stephen Frazier, who is at the UN in New York. What more have you been able to learn, Stephen?
Well, Tom, we do have confirmation now, within the last few seconds, in fact, from the number 2 man at the American mission here at the United Nations, that, in fact, the Iraqis are reported by Mr. Vorontsov to have accepted some elements of the American plan. Unfortunately for us, he doesn't specify which of the elements those are, but he did make it plain that this is not a blanket acceptance of the American ultimatum to move. Nobody here at the United Nations has any report yet of any signs of any Iraqi withdrawal. So this is a continuation of people talking past each other now, the Americans explaining the American position, the Soviets explaining theirs, and neutral countries trying to figure out what's going to happen here, but solely a communication session, not really a negotiation. The negotiations won't take place here.
Stephen Frazier, how will they find out what conditions they are willing to